Okay, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. In this episode, we have special guest Meri Abbado. Growing up in Split and eventually moving to the US, Meri is an accomplished bodybuilder and the only Croatian IFBB Master Bikini in the world, as well as the Master Bikini World Champion 2022, and she'll be competing in the Master Olympia this summer. In this episode, we're going to learn more about her bodybuilding and her Croatian heritage. Meri, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you taking the time. I
Oh,
want to
thank
talk,
you.
I want to learn a
It's a
little bit more
pleasure.
about you and your upbringing. I know that you grew up in Split. Can you talk sort of a little bit about that and about your upbringing?
Well, growing up in Split was amazing time. Those were 1970s and then 1980s as a teenager. I think those were the best time to be child and grow up in then former Yugoslavia. And growing up was very simple, but a lot of fun. As a kids, we didn't have too much responsibilities. Our responsibility was only to go to school and bring good grades. And parents were just, if you know anything about Croatian parents, you know they are very protective and sometimes overprotective and cater to their kids. So as a kids, we just went to school and after school, um, have a lunch, do our homework, and the rest of the day was just for playing with the friends um, in the neighborhood. In the evening, come home when your mom calls you for a dinner before a cartoon. And that was about it. In summertime, when school was off, it was all day having fun, being on the beach, hanging out with friends. Um, Basically, very happy, carefree childhood. I always remember fondly that period of my life. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fun for me to be in Split and to be there, for the summer and everything. I can only imagine growing up as a kid, how
Oh, it
awesome.
was great. You know, we didn't have all the technology that kids have today. It was just you and your bunch of your friends, and you will invent games. We didn't have much, we didn't spend much time watching television either because there was no much program for kids at that time. I remember um, during the week there was only cartoon at 7:15 until 7:30 before news. And ev- every child in Croatia will then sit in front of television and watch that cartoon. So we all watched the same thing. We all did the same thing. On Sunday, there was a little of children's program in the morning, and that was about it. Rest of the time, you were on your own, and it was so much fun because we had to be creative and come up with games. Usually, most of the time, cowboys and Indians, and after with girls playing dolls and um, just going to the beach and enjoying, nature and everything that that area could offer.
Mhm.
So it was great.
Yeah, well, definitely a much simpler time than today with all the technology and everything. It's different. But I know also you grew up with, there's a lot of famous athletes that came from, that area around your time as well. I know you wanted to talk a little
Oh
about that.
yeah, yeah. Well, as you know, that area is very, it's full of talent, especially athletic talent. Um, so in mid 80s, like 84 to 89, when I was in junior and high and senior high school, um, there were a lot of new talented kids uh, that caught the eye of international scouts like Tony Kukoc, Dino Raja. There were we all knew each other because we all kind of grew up together, went to school together. I met Dino and Tony through my high school friend, Nenad Videka, who was another great basketball player and played all over Europe. So I remember those times when they were just young teenagers, 16, 17 years old, and going to tournament all over Europe. And nobody really thought at that time about what's going to happen or knew what's going to happen. But everyone was just happy to be doing something, you know. Then Goran Ivanišević, he was a couple of years younger than us. I used to see him all the time at Firele tennis court practicing. Robert Jarni, he went to high school with me. He was then just starting to play soccer with junior Hajduk, but eventually he became one of the greatest soccer player, Croatian soccer player. And so many others. I mean, Split produced so many world-class water polo players. I have one of my best friends until today. She was a great handball player playing all over the Europe, and she was twice European champion. And I mean, on and on and on. There were so many of them that it was absolutely normal to have all these people around you and have your high school friend going to world championship and coming back with the gold. Very interesting time. And I never really pay attention much to that. None of us, we thought it was normal. But now looking back and knowing better, I just realized how tremendous talent was coming out from that small area. And those teenagers didn't even know what's going to happen in a few years, that they're going to become those huge international stars and play for NBA and go winning, world championships and Olympics. It's amazing. It's unbelievable to think that so much talent came from a small area.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's still happening. I mean, for some reason, at that time, a lot of them came at the same time. I guess maybe country was opening more towards the West, and international scouts start looking into that area. But it's, when you think about it, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, growing up with all those, people who ended up to be, world-class, world-famous athletes, is that what sparked your interest in bodybuilding, or did that come later?
Not at all. I discovered my talent 50 years later, almost. No, I'm not 50, but no, not at all. I was never athletic person. I not even in the school, in high school and elementary school, I would just play regular sports as a part of PE, but was never ambitious or competitive enough to join the team and be serious about anything, even though I always consider myself to be athletic, but not in that way, as a athlete or professional athlete. So when this happened for me, I was surprised too that actually I have a talent for something, and that I actually enjoy it, and that I stuck with it, until now. So not at all. I started bodybuilding at age 45, which
Wow.
it's pretty late. even for American standards.
What's the what's the usual age that people start in female bodybuilding or in general,
Oh,
I guess, bodybuilding?
earlier the better. We have, girls who are just turning 18 and they're already, starting to compete in NPC, which is a amateur league. Um, and most of them are between, in their 20s, early 30s. But now, last few years, this sport, especially female bodybuilding, couple of divisions like bikini the division, became really, really popular, especially with all this internet and people posting their videos, fitness and exercises. It really took off, and uh, not only with the young crowd, but with older women, 40 and up. I remember when I started in 2016, master class, which are masters are 40 and plus, were good, but not as good as today. They were kind of just starting to come out. And the quality was not um, that great. But last couple of years, actually last 4 years, it really took off. It became so competitive, and quality of athletes is just unbelievable that they can easily, stand next to girls who are in their 20s and be competitive and sometimes even win against them. So that's one of the reasons why IFBB Pro League decided to bring Master Olympia back after 11 years because it was canceled. I don't know, 11 years ago they tried and didn't work. So, but now with such a huge number of quality athletes, they brought it back, and we are going to have Master Olympia in August. In Romania. And I was lucky enough to be chosen amongst 20 other bikini girls to compete for, for the title. So I'm
That's
so
awesome.
thrilled. I still can't believe that this is happening because 7 years ago when I was starting, that was never even a dream or ever crossed my mind that I would be even professional athlete.
Well, what was your goal 7 years ago, when you first started? Did you want to compete right away, or did you sort of build into that later
No, I actually didn't know anything about bodybuilding at that time. And I stumbled into competing by chance. It was one of those things, you do something and then leads you to another thing, and you just slowly progress. And for me, it was after my divorce. And especially my kids, growing, leaving the house, going to college, you kind of try to find your new identity. And I start working out at home just for fun, just to, feel good about myself. I did it for about a year and I really liked it. So at that time also I started my fitness Facebook page, which became really quickly popular. Today I have about 100,000 women following me, and they are mostly from former Yugoslavia area. Um, because I speak and write in Croatian.
on?
Uh, so I was doing that, and because I was giving them advices and showing them exercises, I kind of felt like I need to educate myself a little bit more. So I got my license to be person. I went to took a course, became personal trainer, and also at the same time start working as a personal trainer in LA Fitness gym, um, where one of my managers, she used to compete. So she just kind of mentioned it to me, well, you look good, and you should try you to compete. Did you ever competed? And I never even knew about that. It was completely that world for me was completely unknown. So she gave me a website to check. I looked into it, and more I was looking, more I liked it. And I say, you know what? Let me enter one competition just to see how it is and to motivate myself to be a little bit more strict with my training and my diet. So I just prepared myself for 12 weeks, entered the show, and did pretty well. I took a third place on my first show, regional show. And I was so clueless at the time that I didn't even know how to pose on the stage. I would look at girls in front of me, what they're doing, and then just kind of wing it. So I really liked the whole experience. It was very professionally done. Top athletes were competing in a IFBB Pro League section. So my boyfriend, when he saw that, he was amazed because he thought I'm just going for some little show somewhere in some high school and it's going to be like just disaster. But when he saw the quality and when he saw the athletes who were competing there, he just loved it so much because he used to do bodybuilding when he was in Marines. And he was the one who kind of pushed me to continue, to at least have a couple of more shows. And at that time, I hired the personal, I tried hired the coach, which is very important, if you want to compete, even in amateur league, doing it on your own is really not enough. And I went from there, once I start working with the coach, I already next competition won my first class. And we did a couple of shows. I also, again, won my class and overall. And at that time, I was already qualified just by winning to go compete nationally. So 1 year later, exactly, actually 1 year later from my first competition, I went to Pittsburgh, compete on a national championship, and I not only won my pro card, but I won 2 pro cards and I won overall. So I was completely stoked and I just thought, oh my God, I'm on top of the world. And of course, once I start competing in a pro league, I realized that that's a completely different story. And I will have to work much, much harder to get to the point and catch up with the girls who were already competing in a pro league. So that's how it started. It's just one thing led me to another, and I never planned or expected to be in this sport for this long and this seriously, So it was a great, it's still a great experience.
Sorry for the interruption, but this episode is sponsored by me and the book I wrote, All Things Croatia, From Los Angeles to the Homeland. I talk about growing up in the Croatian diaspora and ultimately moving to Croatia to further connect with my roots. It's available on Amazon as an ebook if you want to check it out. Now back to the episode. Mm-hmm. Well, what goes into the competition as far as, what takes place? How does the competition work? I've never really watched any, bodybuilding competitions. What goes on during them? How do the judges rank you? How does it work?
It's a very long process. Bodybuilding is 24-hour sport. You live, it's not just you train and that's it. You really have to live bodybuilding, which means, what you eat, how much you rest, how much you train, everything takes in account. And doesn't stop. There is no season. We call it on and off season, but that actually doesn't mean in off season you don't do anything. You actually train very hard. It's just that when you are off season, you're kind of building your physique. And then when it's the on season, you are starting to get ready to compete and compete. So usually my off season would be like 6 months where I'm building muscle. And then next 6 months, I'm kind of slowly getting ready, leaning out and getting ready for a show. And then you compete for maybe 3, 4 months. So it used to be like 6 months off, 6 months on. But this last year, I took almost, it's going to be like 10, 11 months in between my competitions. I competed last year at the World Championship where I won. And I just felt like I need to build more of my lower body. So we decided to take a long off season to, work on that. And just it happened that in middle of my off season, they announced comeback of Master Olympia. So I was so happy because I was already working on improving my physique for next year. And so usually once you decide on a show that you want to do, probably around 12 to 16 weeks before show starts, you start with a really rigorous not only training, but lifestyle, which means your social life is starting to, go to zero. There is no going out to restaurants, traveling, and anything that will disturb your routine. It has to kind of slowly stop. By the time you are like 6 weeks away from show, it's basically eat, sleep, and train. Wow. On a show day, depends where you are going. Sometimes competition is only one day, sometimes it's 2 days. It's very stressful because you usually travel in other states to compete. And with strict diet and very little water on the day of competing, it is very stressful, not only on your body, but mentally and emotionally. And on a day of competition, you just wake up early in the morning, do makeup and hair. You do 10 one night before, and just wait for your time to go on the stage. So we do all of this basically 24 hours a day for a very long time, sometimes years, just for few minutes on the stage,
Yeah, that sounds crazy to me almost. But
it is crazy.
But it's worth it.
Well, it's definitely worth it because bodybuilding teaches you a lot of things. I mean, I have completely changed the way of thinking, and since I became involved with the bodybuilding, you have to be super disciplined. You have to, stick to certain routine, which is very, very boring to most people. You eat same things over and over again. And not too many people can do that. It's very mental, not only physical. I would say that mental, it's even more mental than physical, because everyone can go to gym for 1 hour, couple of hours, whatever, and you go home and then do whatever you want. But when you're a bodybuilder, you You cannot do that. It's like a very strict regime. You eat every 3 hours. You need to get enough sleep, rest, because this is when your body is actually repairing and building. And as you age, of course, that becomes more and more difficult. It takes more time to build your muscle when you are older. It takes more time to recover when you are older. And I'm amazed, and respect every single person who does that and stick to that plan, because it's not easy.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't sound like it's easy at all. I know
No.
you mentioned to me the other day, Mary, that female bodybuilding can be, misunderstood by some people. Can you talk about that a little bit and what you meant by that?
Well, it's misunderstood by most people, and especially in Croatia. I mean, because sport is not very popular over there, and especially female bodybuilding. When you say female bodybuilder in Croatia or anywhere in the world, they automatically think about like bodybuilders, women bodybuilding category. Um, of women. What I mean by that, there are different divisions in female and male bodybuilding competitions. It goes from a bikini, which is very still feminine, and somebody would say, okay, these people don't work really hard. It's just a little definition of muscle, and it's more like a fitness look. Then you have a wellness, which are girls who have a larger, heavier lower body, so they develop really big legs. Their legs are bigger, and then upper body. Then you have figure and physique, and at the end you have a bodybuilder women. So when you talk about bodybuilding, people usually always go and think about that division, and they don't like it because they don't like the overly masculine look on a woman, and a lot of people believe that women should not lift the weights. So this is now changing a lot with these new divisions becoming so popular, especially bikini division and wellness. Um, Now everyone wants to compete, everyone wants to be fitness model, and it became like almost there is no person who on internet on Instagram who doesn't post their pictures from the gym and workouts, but if you are doing it professionally, it's a not easy task. It's very demanding, and I think one of the most difficult sports out there.
I'm sure, definitely, yeah. Well, it's good to hear that it's sort of becoming more mainstream and more popular, more people are doing it. Mary, I'm looking forward to your event, the Olympia in Romania this August, this summer. That's going to be really awesome. And I just have a couple of quick, very short questions for you as we wrap up here. Um, just 3 or 4 quick questions. First one is, have you been back to Croatia lately, or do you have any plans to go sometime in the future?
Last time I was there in winter of 2019, I think 19, and
Mhm.
then COVID happened, and last couple of years I'm just so busy with training that I can't take time to go there. Um, Most of my competitions are in the summer time. So when I want to go to Croatia, I can't because I'm competing. And in the winter time, it's very difficult, to go there, and it's cold. I kind of, you know,
Yeah. Well, you're in Los
I avoid
Angeles, right?
going there in the winter time. But I love going to Croatia, and I have been postponing it. I have friends, very good friends from my childhood, still there, and they're a little bit upset with me because every year I tell them next summer, and I keep competing and competing. So hopefully next summer, or maybe this coming winter, we'll see. But definitely, I have plans to go there. I love going to Croatia.
Awesome. Yeah, on that note, I have one more Croatia related question and then one final question after that. What makes Croatia so special
Uh,
in your
well, and we have everything, you know, from great weather, from beautiful islands and sea, all that coast, Croatian, Dalmatia and Croatian coast. It's a beautiful, still almost untouched, and people can um, take a boats and go from island to island and feel like they're somewhere far away where there's no people, you know. Then we have mountains, we have beautiful national parks. I mean, we do have everything, and food is good, people are nice. I always hear only good thing about tourists coming back from Croatia, especially in last maybe 10 years when Croatia became international destination. Split had kind of completely changed. I'm amazed how much it changed from the time I used to live there. So um, I think if you want to go anywhere in summer in Europe, Croatia is must.
Yeah, I agree, definitely, of course. And Split as well in Croatia is definitely a must.
Yeah, especially with the young people. I hear a lot from young people. They love to go to Split and all those islands and party scenes. So it seems like that's going to continue because more and more people have Croatia on their bucket list.
Definitely, yeah. Well, Mary, it's been an honor having you on the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and really looking forward to the next competition from you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was great talking to you.